Hello everyone and welcome to my review of Inscryption. This game this game is what the fuck is this game? This game was recommended to me by my friend Becca on Twitter, and it is such a completely unique experience, and I implore anyone watching this video that might give it a shot, please leave, download the game, play it, beat it, then come back and watch the review. Seeing any gameplay footage would be a complete spoiler. If you have done so, or you don't intend on giving it a shot, let me tell you why this game is absolutely amazing. What genre even is this game? I mean, it has so many different themes and quirks and gameplay elements that there's no way you could throw it into one singular genre. I mean, at the very base, the gameplay is a card game that works a lot like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering, where you need to make a certain amount of sacrifices or have a certain amount of energy to play monsters from your hand. And then those monsters attack other monsters, then attacking the life points of the enemy directly. And that's just on the surface level. On top of that, behind the scenes, there's so much more going on. Aside from the card game, you're also doing kind of like an escape the room game, at least in Act 1, where an old man across the table from you is keeping you captive. While you're exploring the cabin that he's keeping you captive in, you will uncover different puzzles and mysteries, and also acquire these talking cards that will start giving you hints. Like, one will be like, you really need to check in the wolf cage thing, and then you're like, oh, maybe I have to check in the wolf cage thing. And then you go check it out, and then there's a wolf in the cage, and then you have to break the wolf in the cage out to get a key to unlock the safe. And there's so much intertwined and amazing connections between the card game and the escape the room game that they work so well together. And that's really the beauty of the game in its entirety. Eventually, they guide you to breaking free from Leshy, who is the older man keeping you captive. I want to acknowledge that at this point, I had been playing the game for like 5 hours, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning. So when the game pulls up a video file of a horribly disfigured creature, I freaked out initially, but then I realized that it was just a dude, a live-action dude, which is extremely off-putting in the context of the game at the time. So you start to uncover this kind of like thriller, mystery, horror movie as you play the game, and it's about a guy who pretty much stumbles across the card game and trouble ensues. Now, this Blair Witch style found footage way of telling the story is really interesting, and I really love how they put it at, every milestone in the game. It really fits with the context of the story. After I beat Leshy, I kind of stepped away from my console and thought, that was a really nice and short and sweet game. But then the game decides to morph into a completely different game where you're no longer playing an escape the room game, you're playing a 8-bit RPG deck building game. This is precisely when I realized I wasn't on a trip, I was along for a ride. And what a ride it was, because Inscryption consistently completely overhauls the gameplay mechanics, and each time you learn to kind of welcome each change. Now, the gameplay in Inscryption is by no means easy, and at some points it's downright hard. The mechanics of the gameplay are simple, but that's what kind of makes the gameplay so amazing. I love when games give you simple rules and mechanics to follow, but if you really take time to learn them and really understand and master them, you can break the game and completely overpower any obstacle. And that's what Inscryption has. If you really take the time to learn each monster and ability and buff and debuff, and really build your deck in a way that synergizes with each other, you will be able to overcome and overpower every single enemy that you come across. Even though the game completely changes genres between acts, the story follows a singular narrative between them. In the second act, you find out that there are 4 scribes who invented card gaming in general. The objective in each act is different. In the first one, you're trying to break free of Leshy's cabin, which Leshy's one of the scribes. In the second one, you just have to defeat the 4 scribes. In the third act, you have a similar goal as the first, where you're trying to escape from one of the scribes. The robot scribe, PO3, or P03, is keeping you captive in his factory, and you have to solve different puzzles to escape. The best thing about the story is that it is completely self-aware. It knows that it is a game, and it knows that you are a player playing that game. I don't want to go into too much detail about how self-aware the game is, but it's really comparable to games like Undertale that kind of know what the player is thinking and are able to predict what the player is going to do. For example, when beginning Inscryption, you are not able to select a new game. Now, after 3 hours of trying to, because I'm an idiot, I eventually just clicked continue, really just acknowledging that maybe I had started the game earlier and just forgot. Little did I know that the fact that you couldn't select new game is a major plot point in the game's story. It's instances like that where the game is really able to get in your head and kind of make for a unique and terrifying experience. An instance during the gameplay where the game is extremely self-aware is during the boss fight with Golly, where Golly will connect to the network and the web and read your friends list and play cards resembling your friends list against you. Those bastards, I knew they would turn on me. Now, I obviously can't show footage of this to protect the privacy of the friends on my friends list, but just imagine Joe Schmo is on your friends list. The boss will play Joe Schmo against you as a card. And it's never a weak card. They're extremely strong. I love the game's self-awareness so much because it makes such a unique feeling of dread. Like, you don't know what the game is going to do next. Like, it's going to just start accessing your bank account or something like that. Now, this feeling of dread kind of goes hand in hand with games that are hyper-aware like this, and like games like Undertale, where it kind of feels like the game is taking residence in your mind. Like this evil presence is taking residence in your mind. Like it's an evil resident, or like a resident. Overall, Inscryption was a really enjoyable experience, and a really unique experience. I don't think I've ever played a game quite like it. I'd absolutely recommend it to 2 different types of people. I'd recommend it to people who like card games, and people who like nightmares. The game also has some endgame content where you're able to play kind of like an endless card game run, it seems, where you can add different modifiers and attributes to the run. Which definitely seems like I'm going to be putting a lot of hours into it. But overall, the game has been very enjoyable. And that about wraps up my thoughts about Inscryption. Please like the video, leave a comment about a game you'd like me to review, and subscribe if you'd like to see more.
Alright, fine. Wow, great video.